Ooh, okay, let me see how I want to do this. I don't know how this video is going to come out because yeah. Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm JC. Today's video is going to be a reaction video. What am I reacting to, you ask? You may have seen a video being circulated around Authortube by Haley Wright. And the title of the video is, one second. It's Let's Chat Self-Publishing and Why It's Not For Me, Packing and for Graduate School and AuthorTube Tea. That's the full title of the video. So I have thoughts and strong opinions. And I went back and forth about how I was going to do this video because I don't know Haley, but I've met her about a handful of times backstage on Morgan Lee's live streams, and I think she's a lovely person. I don't have anything bad to say about her. Y'all know I'm not about negativity. However, I have thoughts about some of the things some of the generalized statements that were made in her video. So I wanted to take each point one at a time. Okay, I will clarify this by saying I don't remember word for word what she said, like how she worded each point. I just wrote down in my notes the overall point that she was trying to make for each of her 7 reasons why self-publishing is not for her. So the first one is she doesn't want to be one of those people, one of those self-publishers who is always promoting their book all the time and basically hitting people over the head with their book and, you know, selling books out of their car or going up to people, you know, in random places trying to sell their books. She doesn't want to do the hardcore marketing that she feels self-published authors have to do. So, one, every self-published author is not walking around with a handful of books trying to sell them to every person they come by on the street. However, if you are, I am not knocking that. Whatever your hustle is how you have to get your books sold. More to my point, even if you are traditionally published, they still expect you to do a modicum of marketing of your book. You are expected to do something to sell your book. Your channel alone is a marketing tool to sell your book. So I felt like that was a bit of a contradiction of statements because her channel in itself would be promoting her book. So I'm just going to move right along to point number 2. So point number 2 she made was that she only ever envisioned traditional publishing growing up. Self-publishing was never on her radar. So I guess my only real rebut to that is that I don't typically think, now there's some exceptions. There are some people who set out to self-publish and that was the way they knew they wanted to go from the start of their writing career. But most people don't set out to self-publish. Most people envision also being traditionally published. But because the publishing industry is, how should I say, a little discriminatory in some cases, particularly to people who look like me, people, or just, you know, people who are, you know, not white, and because traditional publishing, they have a cap. They have a certain amount of books that they publish each year. After that number of books, you know, they're not publishing your books anymore. It's harder to get traditionally published, and not because your book might not be great, but it's just there's only so much room in a traditional publishing house There's only so many authors they take. And if you are a marginalized author, you have even less of a chance of getting your book seen by those publishers, let alone published. There are exceptions, of course. We have Lizelle Sambury, who is traditionally published with Simon and Schuster. I am not saying that it's not possible. It's just infinitely harder. And that's not to say that self-publishing is an easy route, because it's not. It's self-publishing. It's hard work. But it's I, people don't just envision self-publishing. It's not something you just say, ooh, I long to be a self-published author. I don't think that's a thing. You can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. If you longed to be a self-published author, this is not a knock against that. Point number 3 was essentially that all self-published books are trash. It's not the word she used. She used a worse word, but all in the indie books, self-published books are not good, not well written, not well edited. She just essentially said that they're not worth it. They're not worth her time. They're not worth her money to read. Now, my rebut is not to say that there aren't some self-published books that may be poorly edited, may be poorly written. Even I haven't read all of them, so I can't speak to that. My issue with her statement is the generalization of the entire self-publishing industry that she admittedly in the video does not read. She said she's only ever DNF'd indie books. She doesn't read indie books. She doesn't waste her money on indie books. Yet she thinks all indie books are trash. So my point is, how would you know? How can you generalize all indie books? Because I can name quite a few. Morgan Lee, A Seed Among the Thorns. Ben Pick's Falling Through. Bethany Vota's Tracker. Bethany Vota also has 2 other short story collections. Sarah Cannon and her whole, she has an entire series. She's a hugely popular self-published author. Her books are amazing. Katie Wismer, the Marionette series. She's an excellent writer. Kennedy Fox, The Courtney Project, who is one half of the Kennedy Fox duo. Becca C. Smith. I could go on about the different self-published authors who have good books. So my only point is, how do you know that all indie books are trash if you admittedly haven't read one? Point number 4, that she can't see where the money is coming from. And that she's too financially responsible to spend money to self-publish. Not a bad point. The delivery of that point was, off-putting. And the only thing I want to say to that is that she stated in the video that she plans on spending money for an editor, a developmental editor, for when she gets ready to query. So 2 of the biggest expenses that a self-published author has is an editor and the cover designer. So you're already putting out an expense that self-published authors have to put out anyway. How are you different? Moving right along. Point number 5 was AuthorTube disillusionment. And this is where I get a little in my feelings, just a tad bit, because she's on AuthorTube. She is considered an AuthorTuber. But yet she proceeds to bash AuthorTube. And, well, not all of AuthorTube, just the non-authentic AuthorTubers. So whoever that might be. She talks about the clickbaitiness of AuthorTuber videos. I did tell you what the title of her video was, right? Was that not clickbait? If you go on her channel, which she has really good videos, they're clickbait videos. So the contradiction in the statement of the reasons why she, the disillusionment of AuthorTube, the constant marketing on AuthorTubers channels, AuthorTubers only using their channels to market their books. I presume that her tracking her journey on her channel would also help market the books she will eventually write. So I'm not entirely seeing the difference. Also not seeing the difference, as I said, in the clickbaitiness of the video. The other thing about AuthorTube is she commented on the writing advice given by AuthorTubers that is not solid advice because they're not published authors. I'll point out that she has advice videos on her channel. She's also not published. But aside from that, I can list a couple of AuthorTubers who I've gotten really excellent writing advice from that are not published. Just Eva, you always see her in the chat. She actually CPs and does editing. So, Barrett, Lori, gives excellent writing advice, has helped a great deal on a lot of things. He runs CGL Live, in which he provides a platform where people can share their work and get advice from the panel. Nia, Vixen of Fiction, gives excellent, especially if you're looking for world building advice and world building tips. Excellent advice. These three people are not published, but that doesn't mean that their advice is not beneficial and valid. Mind you, also, there are quite a lot of editors who are not writers. Like, they don't publish books, but they edit because that's what they went to school for. They love to edit. They love to chop up people's work and examine their prose and grammar and all of that stuff, but they don't write books, so of course they're not published. Does that make their advice any less valid? Moving along, point number 6. Point number 6 and 7, I don't necessarily have a strong opinion against what she said. It's just, again, the generalization. Point number 6, she said that self-published books don't have a lot of literary merit. She intends on writing speculative literary fiction. She didn't see a lot of that in the self-published field. It's just the generalization of it, because there are some people who write literary fiction and they self-publish. So I don't. Number 7, control. Now, here is where I kind of understand and would go along to an extent. To an extent. Because there's the whole thing that she said. She doesn't want to have to deal with because a lot of self-publishers, a lot of people self-publish. Some say they want to have control. They want the full amount of whatever they make from their books. They don't want to have to share that amount with an agent or a publisher. They want to be able to have a say over certain things that when you're traditionally published, you don't have a say over because you're not the one putting out the money to publish the book. So there is that, and I get that. I totally understand that, particularly in terms of marketing, because I am a terrible marketer. I know that is something I have to put money aside to do, is the marketing bit, because I would need to hire someone for that. But where she kind of loses me is the wanting to relinquish all control. She doesn't want to have to do anything to promote her book, to sell her book, to get her book in people's hands. And I'm just like, you're going to have to do something. Book events is still marketing. You're still going to have to actually physically do something. to sell your books. So, um, those are my thoughts. The discussion about the capitalism of self-publishing. Her side note was that self-publishing is far more capitalistic than traditional publishing. I won't refute her statement. I will argue that they are equally capitalistic. So that is my only note about that point. Um, so all of that to say that I don't. It's okay to want to be traditionally published. Nothing wrong with that at all. I intend to be a hybrid author. I intend to query my middle grade series and hopefully get that traditionally published. So I have nothing against traditional publishing. Definitely, obviously, I have nothing against self-publishing because, you know, this is my book, and I worked hard on it. And one of the other points that she made was that the rapid release and the people, self-published authors don't take the proper amount of time to publish their book, to put out good work. And I'll have you know that this book went through 10 or so rounds of edits. I worked hard to self-publish my book. Most of the self-publishers I know work extremely hard to put their books out there, and they're good books. And to generalize all self-published authors and lump them into one category of their books all being trash is not what we want here in AuthorTube. So I guess the reason I'm making this video is because not to come down on Haley. I honestly think that with more experience and time, she may see things a bit differently. Not in terms of whether she wants to be self-published or traditional published, just in her delivery of her opinion. It's about the fact that as self-published authors, we already struggle so much to be taken seriously, to get seen, to get our books in stores, to get our books in libraries, to just get our books in anyone's hands. So to have someone, particularly someone who admits that they don't read self-published books, they don't read indie published books, to come and say that all indie books, all self-published books are trash, it's a little disheartening, and it hurts the vast majority of the AuthorTube community, because we work hard here in this community. I don't know everyone, so I can't really speak for every single person, but I know the corner of AuthorTube that I'm in, we all work hard on our stuff. There's no lack of editing that goes into our works. We are a very driven bunch here. We are serious about our work. We are serious about putting out good work, not trash. We are serious about having our work taken seriously. So it just strikes a nerve. And I know it struck a nerve with a lot of people. For someone to come and say that all books are trash that are indie published and self-published when they've not even read one whole indie published book, because they admittedly DNF'd all the ones they've started to read. So as a community, I want us to, there's a stigma on indie publishing, self-publishing. It's I don't think it's ever going to fully go away, but it's like we make a little progress, and then we get knocked back. I just want people to think about who they hurt when they say certain things. in a community of people that you are generalizing with your statements. And if you are not for self-publishing, that's completely fine. It's not for everyone, and that's fine. But just don't sit there and say all self-published books are bad, because we have enough trouble getting people to take us seriously and pick up our books and want to read our books and give us a chance, and then to not take into consideration the aspect of what the publishing industry is today. Because let's face it, people that look like me are not getting book deals thrown at them every day, or it just doesn't happen. So if we want to be seen, sometimes we have to make it happen ourselves. Doesn't mean our books aren't good. It doesn't mean that we haven't put in lots of time and lots of effort and hard work and labors of love into our work. And we just want to be taken seriously. And I guess that's all I want to say. I'm going to leave the link for the video, for Haley's video, in the description. So, yeah. Gonna go now. That's going to be it for this video. If you like what you see and you want to see more videos from me, make sure that you hit the like and subscribe button. I post videos on Mondays and Thursdays. I live stream on Wednesdays from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As per usual, if you would like to support me in any of my creative endeavors, such as my blog site, my online magazine, my online store, or my Ko-fi page, all of those links can be found in the description box below, along with links to my AuthorTube family, a lot of whom are also self-published authors and have books available for you to go buy. And with that, till next time, have a blessed day. Bye.